not the dimwit, but kind of the person that just kind of goes into it a little starry-eyed, like watching it more of a as the viewer enjoying fun as opposed to critically viewing it.
Yeah.
I tend to, especially the movie that we're watching for our pilot episode. Um, when you get an actor that I like in a movie, it's really hard for me to critically watch that movie. You put Nick Cage in a movie and I'm gonna like it. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
And I agree with you. I've kind of got a dualist way of looking at these things. I can look like if you take a movie like National Treasure that Nick Cage was in, I can look at it critically and say, you know what? It's not a good movie. It's not an Oscar caliber movie. It's not, but man, it is a fun movie.
It
It's a
is.
popcorn movie.
Right.
I saw The Expendables 3 in the theater, and it's the same thing. It's gun porn, but hey, it was fun. It's not anything I'm going to say changed my life in any way, but man, it was a fun 2 hours to sit there and watch.
I haven't seen 3 yet. I'm excited to see it. I haven't just bothered to get around with it yet. But no,
Yeah.
I loved 1 and 2. I loved Chuck Norris in 2. Chuck Norris was great. And the whole what happened to you? It's like I was a bit by a snake, and for 6 grueling days I suffered, and then the snake died. It's like, in what other movie can Chuck Norris tell a Chuck Norris joke?
Exactly.
So you have to have, and I think that's part of it. And we see that a lot in the video game culture now too, which is one reason I love Blizzard. And it's funny, Blizzard seems to come up on every episode of the show because we're all Blizzard fans.
Yep.
But there's so many companies out there that try to take themselves too seriously. And I enjoy that sometimes. Like the Dark Souls series is a good example of that. Elder Scrolls is a great example of that. But Blizzard just kicks back. They're like, look, we're going to make you a solid game, but it's going to be fun. And
Yeah.
that's our primary goal. If it's not fun, we don't want it. And
Yeah.
that's what people like Nicolas Cage do. Is they might have serious undertones, but the movie itself is just fun, and that's the
Yeah.
point. Because if you're not having fun, what are you doing?
Yeah. I don't want to sit down and watch a movie that's going to, pull at the heartstrings or, change my life every time I sit down and watch a movie. Movies are magic. Movies are supposed to be fun.
Right.
I think back to when I was a kid sitting in the theater watching Gremlins and Ghostbusters. And, those were not, great. I mean, they're great movies, but they're not the kind of movies that are, universally applauded as, some of the greatest film ever made. But man, they are so much fun to sit and watch, and still are to this day.
Right.
But
Yeah.
not Ghostbusters too.
No, not Ghostbusters 2. Though the scene when they after they got slimed and they ran into the mayor's office in their long johns, that was a good one. But no, and then you get those movies where you try and be serious, but you try and be fun. I was shocked that I cried walking out of Inside Out. I didn't
Oh yeah,
expect such emotional turmoil from that movie. And here I am, 31, almost 32 years old. I'm there with my 4-year-old watching it, and I'm like almost in tears, and she's just having a blast. And
uh-huh.
that's one thing that Pixar does extremely well, is like, we're gonna make you laugh, but we'll be damned if you aren't crying by the time it's over.
Yeah. It's like Up. If you weren't crying at the beginning of Up, you were dead inside. I'm sorry. It's just Pixar is great at just playing those emotions and pulling the heartstrings just right.
Yep, they are. And even to this day, from memories of being a kid, the "You've Got a Friend in Me" from Toy Story.
Hmm.
Just the song itself, it just brings up the emotions from the movie. And
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason that so many people now who are getting married play a song like that at their wedding.
right,
It's an emotional song, and it means something to this generation. So
yeah, it really does. Our wedding song. No, our wedding song was a country song. But Lizzie, our oldest, she was, I want to say 2, a little over 2 at the time. She had just learned how to walk, and she had walked down the aisle to Hakuna Matata from The Lion King.
there you go.
And even
I mean,
then,
those.
that's something that I watched in elementary school. And here I am now getting married, watching my daughter walk down the aisle to the song. And it's like, it's just so surreal that it brings you back.
Yeah, I remember being in high school and going with my girlfriend and my niece, who is going to get married this summer, to
Right.
see Aladdin. And right before I came in, the 5-year-old went to bed, put a video on for him, and he's in there watching Aladdin right now as he goes to sleep. So those Disney movies, those Pixar movies really do transcend a lot of time.
They do. And it's nice to see that too. I mean, even in movies and in TV, it's it's nice to see the current generation having an appreciation for older stuff.
Hmm?
My son, who's almost 2, he loves Thomas the Tank Engine, and
Yes.
I wasn't huge on it. It wasn't really a thing when because I was a little bit older, but my little brother was obsessed with it.
Yeah.
I kind of there was a dip in popularity when I was growing. I was more of a Tonka truck guy. But
Yeah.
but yeah, and it's so cool to see. Like he's a year and a half. Well, I guess he's like a year and 10 months now. But his 2 favorite things are Thomas the Tank Engine and Batman. And
Yeah.
I'm like, how can you go wrong?
Yeah. Yeah, my 5-year-old was into Thomas for a long time, and the other day he came home from school and he was really proud of himself, and he took his book bag and showed me the book he got from the library, and he got the story of Batman out of the library.
Nice.
He's in kindergarten, and the two of us, it's a chapter book. We read a couple chapters each night before bed, and had a lot of good bonding time over the
Yep.
bat.
Oh yes, it is great, and it's really cool because I think you're probably about a generation ahead of me.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, I'm 40.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you're like, but yeah. So you're right smack in between me and my parents.
Mhm.
So it's. I mean, so I guess we're almost the same generation. But anyway, the point being, it's cool for people in our realm. I mean, because I mean, my kids are just about as old as yours.
Mhm.
So it's nice that we relate to them because we are still kids inside. Like,
Yeah.
I remember growing up and there was nothing that I did that could relate to what my mom or dad did. They didn't play video games. I mean, they might have
Mhm.
when they were younger, but that wasn't something adults did in the 80s.
Yeah.
They didn't read comic books. They didn't watch cartoons. They didn't go see. I mean, it wasn't a thing. And now, I mean, my daughter will come up next to me and go, "Oh, what game are you playing?" And she'll talk to me about the game, and we'll play Minecraft, and she'll talk to me about, like, it's so amazing that we're more connected with our children than we ever have been.
Yeah,
It's a
I think you're
blast.
right.
Just
I've got kids that range. My youngest is 5, but then I've got a 13-year-old, a 17-year-old, and an 18-year-old.
oh, okay. So
And this
my oldest is the same age as your youngest.
right, but there's overlap there. But the thing is, like with the 17-year-old, we're doing a podcast together.
Right.
I'm more of a computer person. I'm not so much of a hands-on. A lot of guys go out and rebuild an engine with their son or go fishing or whatever. Well, I don't do those things, but we could sit and do a podcast together and
Right.
bond over that. And him and I were both on the Christmas edition of Trivia Geeks. Him and I took on Carrie and her daughter for the night. We did a family one, and we had a blast.
Right.
And it was something we could do. The whole thing on Harry Potter trivia, which is one of those things that I've read multiple times, he's read multiple times, and it kind of, crosses the generation. And you're right, it gives us those things to relate to the kids to that I don't think were present in previous generations.
No, it really wasn't. I'm going to just do a quick apology to the listeners who are listening to this. There's been some Skype issues, so the audio is coming a little choppy. So hopefully it fixes itself soon.
That could be my
Oh,
internet too.
yeah. Oh, it could be a combination of that or Skype. Whatever. Skype blows.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
I
it's the tools we have.
Yeah, and I literally live like in the middle of nowhere. If I need a gallon of milk, it's at least a half-hour round trip to
Ooh.
the stores. So I live on a dirt road in the middle of northeastern Pennsylvania. I'm above Scranton there. Everybody knows Scranton from the office. So
Right.
I'm above that. So it's pretty rural here. So
I think I could get anything that I want within a half-hour round trip. I've got a Best Buy, a Walmart, a mall, and about a dozen gas stations.
now, if I wanted something from Walmart is the closest, you're talking at least an hour and a half round trip plus whatever time I spend in Walmart.
Right. God.
So it is not close.
No, no. Yeah, it's a little far from me.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice because it is quiet, and my kids can go out and roam around the property, and we have deer that come through the front yard and things like
Right.
that. So I mean, it definitely does have its perks, and you learn to plan things out a lot. Like when I go shopping, it's not like I can just go and get dinner for tonight and then go again and get dinner for tomorrow night. I need to plan out a week's worth of meals and go shopping and make the trip worthwhile. And they say that actually makes you spend less money doing things like that. So,
Yeah, that would
it
make
does
sense.
have its benefits.
Right. That would make sense. Plus, then you probably buy in bulk more often, which has you save money. So.
Yeah, because you just don't want to waste the gas going back and forth in the time. So,
Right. Yeah. I live in Maine, so I have an SUV, so I understand the concept of wasting gas.
and I've got a four-wheel drive truck because
Yeah.
we get snow up here. So it's, you got to be able to get around.
Yes, yes, indeed, yes, indeed. No, I mean, we're in Portland. We're on the outskirts of Portland. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think I could do that. Like, I mean, I've had plenty of days where I smoked my last cigarette and had to run to the gas station. If it was a half-hour round trip to buy a pack of smokes, I don't think I'd be doing that well.
Yeah, it's not exactly convenience.
Right. But again, you have your give and take, and yeah, I would love to just be rid of my neighbors.
Yeah.
They're so
Well, and
annoying.
that's the thing. You don't deal with neighbors. We're in a great school system for the kids. My oldest, my daughter, who's graduated high school now and is attending college, has Asperger's syndrome, and the school system here, when we moved here in 2008, did wonders for her.
Nice.
She was in the drama club, up on stage, performing in front of
Oh
everybody.
wow.
She was really well received. Like we'd go to school for meetings or something like that. She'd walk down the hall, and the other kids would all be like, "Hey, Emily, hey, Emily." And it's, so she was really well received by the other kids. The teachers were fantastic. And, every time they wanted to try something new, they'd call us up, and we're like, go ahead and try it. If it works, great. If it doesn't, then we'll reset and try again. But
Right.
they were always wanting to help her and always wanting to do the best for her. And she graduated, and like I said, she's in college now, so she's doing really well. And a lot of that has to do with the school system that they're in. So
Oh,
there's
definitely.
definite perks to it.
Oh, I mean, there's something to be said for the whole, the small town providing you're a person, not a number.
Yeah.
Because once you're in the big city, you're a number. I mean, that's
Yep.
just the truth of it. I mean, you have your friends, but nobody else gives a shit.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Philadelphia. My parents come to my school. I don't think most of the teachers and stuff would know who they are. I walk in the door over at my kid's school, and everybody in there knows who I am.
Right.
And that's more says about them than it does about me.
Right.
They're just that kind of people. So
Right. And that's a good security thing too, because it's such a small town. They know everybody. So if
yeah,
there's someone they don't know, then everybody is instantly kind of on alert a little bit.
yep,
Whereas you're in a big city, you don't know who's going where.
yeah,
So
yeah. It
no,
can get very dangerous very quickly.
something can certainly be said for that.
Yep, absolutely.
But who's on your shirt? Is it Captain America?
That is Captain America. I just recently started collecting T-shirts, and I've got Captain America, Superman, Batman, Brian and Stewie, Snoopy, anybody I can get my hands on.
Nice, nice. Yeah,
So,
I went through this phase, probably in my mid 20s, where I started to wear I started shopping at the Gap and stuff like that, and started dressing like a casual adult.
yeah.
Um, and then I'm like, you know what? This is boring. And I went, and now I'm back to blue jeans, camo cargo shorts, and either rock and roll or superhero or video game T-shirts. It's like I dress like I'm in high school. Life is good.
Yep, absolutely. For years, when I worked in offices and things, that was always my attire: button down, clean shaven. And then in 2008, I was diagnosed with a heart problem, and I worked for a little while longer, but then I had to leave work because the heart problem progressed to the point where I shouldn't be taking on all that stress and stuff.
Right.
And basically, when I got out of working in an office environment, things started to change for me in that respect. And, I don't, I mean, if I'm going somewhere, I'll dress up, but for the most part, give me a good t-shirt and, you know, pair of jeans and I'm good. And, you know, and I just found up at the mall here, we've got a Burlington coat factory,
Yeah.
and I'm a bigger guy. They have bigger sizes. And a lot of times you can't find all the fun stuff in bigger sizes, but they got it there. So,
Oh, nice.
you know, and it's like $7 for a t-shirt. So it's like, okay, I'm going to buy 3 or 4 every time I'm up there and just have this fun collection of weird shirts and stuff, you know?
Yeah, no, you can't complain about that at all.
Yeah.
You know, having the fun shirts and you know, I mean, it's whatever. I mean, I've got a lot of it tattooed on me too.
Hmm.
I've got zombie Batman and zombie Joker. Uh, got my Resident Evil and my Star Wars. I've got the Frostborn tattooed down my back. But you run out of space, so I can do more with t-shirts.
Yeah. Well, you know, and here's the thing, you know, and I don't want to get too like philosophical or anything, but when you're 35 years old and you go into the hospital in congestive heart failure and they have to put a defibrillator in and they're talking about, you know, medications that you're taking every day for the rest of your life and stuff, it starts to put stuff in perspective.
Right.
And life is way too short to take things seriously all the time. And I think that's why I've kind of thrown myself whole hog into the podcasting thing, because I'm having a blast. I'm getting to meet so many cool people, so many people that I've idolized. I mean, to me, the reason I got into podcasting, if I had to pick one person, it's Brian Ibbett.
Right.
Brian is fantastic at what he does. He's got a great sense of humor, and the guy is genuinely a nice guy.
Right.
You know, he's interacted with me a few times about different things, and he's helping us with a planning a project that we're going to announce shortly over at Wolfking, and you know, just providing information to us and letting us get started. And you know, I got to hang out with him, and he was on my show, and it's like, how ridiculous is this, you know? But it's fun, and
Oh,
I'm
for
just
sure.
doing what I want to do and have fun. You
Yeah,
know?
my two big motiv. I had never even heard of podcasting. I've always been a fan of talk radio, and you'd think I'm a geek.
Mhm.
You'd think I'd know what the hell podcasting was, but no. Up until a couple of years ago, I really wasn't familiar with it because I didn't bother with the social side of things. I had my small little niche of friends that we gamed online together, and that's what we did. I always listened to talk radio. You know, Free Beer and Hot Wings was always a big one that I always followed. Listened to the Jim Rome show because I'm a sports guy too, and stuff like that. And then I had briefly dated a girl who was like, "Oh, have you ever heard of The Instance?" And I'm like, "No," because I've been playing WoW since Friends and Family Access in late '03. So, um, and she's like, "Have you ever heard of The Instance?" And I'm like, "What? No. What are you talking about?" She goes, "Oh, it's a podcast. It's like a talk show." And I'm like, "No." Well, and so I went on and checked it out, and I listened to it and I'm like, this is incredible. It's a talk show about video games. I'm like, what have I
Yeah.
been missing? And then I started listening to it, and you know, I eventually started listening to more of Scott's stuff. And
Mhm.
you know, I'm an avid morning stream fan now, and everything else that he does, and you know, and then that branched out, and I'm, you know, Daily Tech News Show and this here, and you know, listening to A Move uh, and Angry Chicken and stuff like that over there. And those were my two big motivators. My two big ones were Scott and Garrett.
Mhm.
And I got to meet them at BlizzCon back in 2014. And I got a great picture of me and Scott. I look stupid because I was so excited to meet him that I had this most ridiculous smile on my face. Um, and I got to meet Brian. I got to meet Garrett and Willie Dills and all them. And I got a bunch of bumpers for the podcast from them. And I actually had to have Garrett on this show about a month ago now, which was a
Mhm.
lot of fun. And yeah, it's cool. And like these people who are crazy cool, and they're fortunate enough to do this as a career.
Yeah.
And you get to meet them. But yeah, no, I listened to them and started listening to more and more shows. And there was two guys that I started playing SWOTOR with back in like 2011. And I was like, you know what? Let's do a show.
Yeah.
And they were like, what? And I'm like, and I'm known for having wacky ideas that I'll forget about in a week. So they're like, yeah, sure, whatever, we'll do a show. And then like a week later, I had a web URL bought, I had bought equipment, I had everything all set up, and I'm like, all right, we're doing episode 1 Sunday. And episode 1 sounded like shit.
Uh-huh. They usually do.
Yeah, but no, you know, it's been fun, and I've met so many cool people between the tadpool and branching out from that. So many people that I'd call my friends now.
Yeah.
I've met through geeking out on the internet over geeky things. It's a geeky world,
Yeah.
and it's wonderful.
It is. I mean, we're living in a great time for that. And, you know, like I look at these people and I think, man, these were my heroes, as far as like these are the guys I looked up to doing podcasts and stuff. And then when I kind of just got it in my head that, hey, maybe I can do that. And now, this past weekend on Trivia Geeks, we had Steven Schleicher from Major Spoilers and Nicole Spagnolo. And it's like, here are two people that I've been listening to for several years now who are coming on and doing my show. And it's like, this isn't real, this is bizarro world. This
Right.
just doesn't happen.
Right.
You know, this is like, this is like getting invited to tennis practice with your favorite, maybe not major league team, but at least minor league team. I mean, let's face it, those guys are internet celebrities. They're celebrities to us.
Right.
The average person might not know who they are, but this is like, a big deal for us to be able to interact and have those folks come on and be gracious enough to come on our shows. And that's really what it's been about. Like I said, with Trivia Geeks, we've been blessed. I mean, our roster of guests have been absolutely top notch. And even the people who come on, we have some people who come on and go, oh, I'm just not, I don't have a big following, I'm not well known. And it's like, well, just come on and have fun. As long as you have fun and you're entertaining, I don't care how many people listen to you. Just, we're here to
Exactly.
have fun.
Yeah, and that's what you do. I mean, you get a show like that, or even like this. Like I mean, I started off with JF, and JF's
Mhm.
great. He's an author. It ended up being like a 2.5 hour long episode because me and him don't shut up. But I mean, he's got a couple podcasts that he does, and he's got a small following, and obviously he's infamously known for the Tad Cruise. Uh, but aside from that stuff, like and that was cool. That was fun. And then I had Abby the very next week, and Abby is relatively small in podcasting. She's got a new podcast that she started. And then the very next week was Garrett Weinzierl.
Yeah.
So it's like, but you know what? And it's one of those things where you give and take. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and Garrett understands that. Me and Garrett met at BlizzCon. We got along great. And he's like, yeah, I'll definitely be on one of your shows. Just let me know. And then a year and a half later, I finally get him on a show. But there's give and take because he knows that when he was there, and because his very first ever podcast that he heard too was The Instance, and
Yeah.
because it's been around for that long.
Yep.
And he knew that somebody gave him a break in his day. He guested on the right show or he got the right connections. And that's what you do. You have people on who might be a little bit bigger. You have people on who might be a little bit smaller. It's you give and take, and you need to remember that too. And if any of us are fortunate enough to ever get to the point where like Tom Merritt or Scott Johnson is in podcasting, it pays to remember, kind of where you came from and not let it get to your head, and perhaps allow that dream to come true for somebody else as well.
Yeah. And it's, to me, it's all about community. And that's the word I think that encapsulates all of it. We on Trivia Geeks all started in the Tadpool. That's where we all met. So that kind of grew out of that community, and you help each other. We run an ad for you, you run an ad for us, and it's just, who cares, if one show has 6,000 listeners and the other show has 50, you swap ads, you help each other out, and it's just because the more people that know about podcasts, the more that are going to listen to all the shows. It's
Right.
We're not in competition with one another.
Right.
And that's the best thing that I found so far, is that other podcasters view it the same exact way, that it's not a competition.
Yeah, it'd be hard to look at it that way because really it's for example, you're a prime example of that with the trivia show. How many trivia shows are on iTunes? You know what I mean? And it's one of those things where at this point it's almost as bad as making a Blizzard show. But the thing is you don't worry about that, because if somebody likes trivia, they're going to listen to all of them, or they're going to listen to the ones they find, or at least they're going to listen to the ones that are produced well and that are entertaining.
Right.
There's enough out there. Most of us that listen to podcasts listen to more than one podcast a week. So, just because I listen back to Scott and Garrett, just because I listen to Into the Nexus doesn't mean I'm not going to listen to Core. Just because I listen to The Instance doesn't mean I'm not going to listen to Torn Think Tank. Like, they're different perspectives, they're different opinions, though Torn Think Tank's a little bit harder. And what is it? And with Core and John Jagger, I always have a hard time with that because John Jagger plays Alliance. and I find that difficult to forgive. But it's okay. I bite my tongue.
Just don't ask me what I play then.
No, I saw the blue headphones. I just assumed. Um, but no, it's all good. I used to be hardcore about that. When I was a hardcore raider. Oh, I've been raiding since '04. Well, I mean, if you want to get down to it, I've been raiding since '99 with EverQuest. But as far as World of Warcraft, yeah, '04 and what was it '05, '06? I was dating a girl that also played World of Warcraft. She played before we met, and then we dated for like 2 weeks, and I found out she played Alliance, and I broke up with her. I'm like, nope, ain't gonna happen. I'm not gonna Benedict Arnold this shit. Ain't gonna happen. But
Well, I picked up World of Warcraft in 2008, so right at the end of Burning Crusade, right before Wrath came out.
Okay.
We moved back to Pennsylvania, and my brother was up, and he's like, "Have you heard of this World of Warcraft?" And I'm like, I've seen ads and stuff for it, but I've never played it. And and he goes, "Well, here, try this," and he puts it on, installs it on my computer, and then it's downhill from there. But
right. Yeah. 8 years later.
He was Alliance. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was Alliance. So I started a Dwarf Hunter, and he's still to this day is my main.
Right.
And I even still have the first pet that I tamed as a hunter is still the pet I probably pull out more often than not, because
Nice.
it's like, this is my little buddy that I went through all these adventures with. He's going to still be the one I pull out. But yeah, so I played Alliance. I have 10 characters on Drendon. 9 of them are Alliance. 1 is a Horde. So
Nice.
And that was just because somebody I was playing with wanted to try the Horde side, and I said, okay, let's do that.
Right. Yeah, I have 7 level 100s right now. All 7 are in the AIE guild on Earthen Ring, all Horde side. And then I have a couple of them that trickle away. I do have 1 level 100, level 90. I never put it, level 90 Alliance Paladin that I boosted just for the achievement of having 2 max level across the factions. And that was it. I've never played it other than that. I boosted it for the achievement. But because I'm an achievement whore. But yeah, no, I mean, I've been playing that for a while. I've always loved it. I mean, I played the original Warcraft back in '94, and then Warcraft 2, Tides of Darkness, and then, Warcraft. And it was great. And I'm so excited for the movie coming out in a few months. And
me too.
Yeah, and I mean, and I still play. I mean, not nearly as much as I used to. I'm still well in the Blizzard ecosystem. Right before we started recording tonight, I was playing Diablo 3 because Season 5 started on Friday. Yeah, I mean, Blizzard.
I was just re-downloading Diablo 3 before we started, and I'll tell you, when I was in the movie theater to see Star Wars opening night, and they played that trailer for the World of Warcraft movie, I could hear my girlfriend behind me laughing because there were 7 of us. We took all the kids, and we had the side seats that were 2, 2, 2.
Yeah.
And so I was sitting with my son. She was behind me sitting with her daughter. And as soon as Blizzard Entertainment comes up on the screen, I was like, yes. And I could hear her behind me laughing. And, it was a very subdued crowd. I don't know how many other Blizzard fans were there, but I certainly was going to show my colors.
Oh, yeah. Well, what's funny is when that came on, I turned to my wife, and because we saw it opening night, and I turned to her and I'm like, if it wasn't for Star Wars, we'd be watching the Warcraft movie right now, because that was the Warcraft movie release date, and then they bumped it because of Star Wars. And I'm like, so if it wasn't for Star Wars, we'd be seeing Warcraft. And she looked at me, she goes, shut up.
Yeah. Well, how smart of a decision did that turn out to be?
Yeah, I don't think anything should have got released. I don't know, though. I have to tell you, if they released on the same night, I think I would have went to Warcraft.
I think I probably would have bought tickets for both, one after the other.
Well, yeah, no. If I could see both, I would. But one or the other. But no, because I've seen. And maybe it's a hindsight, But I've seen a Star Wars movie before. I kind of knew what to expect, and now after seeing it, I mean, I won't spoil anything. But now after seeing it, what I would have expected is what I got. I got the original trilogy in HD.
Yeah.
And I'm not complaining. It was wonderful. But like Warcraft is going to be something new. that's going to be these, especially for me. I mean, I'm going on 22 years with existing in Azeroth between the RTS games and then World of Warcraft. Like, this is a world that I get to see on the big screen for the first time. Like, I'm more excited for June than I was for episode 7.
Yeah.
So, but I'm also more nervous.
Yes, and that was the thing I was going to say. Star Wars, in hindsight, now having seen it and having seen it twice and realizing how much I like it in the scope of Star Wars movies, it's probably my favorite.
Yeah. Kylo Ren is amazing.
The whole cast. I mean, Rey was great. The comedy was there, and it was so spot on, and the fan service was there, but it wasn't shoved down your throat.
Right, you had to notice it.
Yeah, and the chance to experience it with my 18-year-old, my 5-year-old, watching the different takes on it. My 5-year-old runs around the house now saying, "I'm BB-8, beep 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 beep," and it's like, that's great, And my daughter, who's 18, watched it and had a completely different take on it. So, I mean, in hindsight, having seen how good it was, definitely Star Wars, because of the unknown factor of what they're going to do with WoW. Actually, the Warcraft movie. It's not World of Warcraft. But
right.
The Warcraft movie.
Yeah, because it actually takes place during the time of the First War. It's the first RTS, yeah.
It looks like it has so much potential. It can be so great. Visually, it's fantastic looking. I just hope they pull it off. And I really, truly mean that. I'm not being sarcastic. I really hope it's off the walls, bananas good.
I have a feeling that I'm going to love it because I'm a Blizzard fanboy.
Yeah,
there's not much they can do, like they'll remove, even if they could remove a feature that I love from one of their games, and I'd be like, well, I really enjoy doing that, but Blizzard knows what they're doing, so it's okay. It's like Apple. I'm a Star Wars fanboy, I'm a Blizzard fanboy, and I'm an Apple fanboy. In my stupid blind eyes, none of those three companies, like Apple's talking about removing the headphone jack from their iPhones next year, which I'm like, okay, that's fine, whatever. I use Bluetooth, I don't care. Like, I'm just like, all right, that if it makes sense to you, sure. But like they can do no wrong. But with Blizzard, like, I don't doubt that I'm going to love the movie. I'm gonna be giddy. You know what I mean? It's gonna be like, when you have like a 3 or 4-year-old and you bring them to like Disney on Ice and they see their characters like come to life for the first time. And I say that because I'm in Maine. I'm nowhere near a Disney place. Well, and you're close to New England area, Northeast too. So it's the same concept, but. Somebody else is like, well, why wouldn't you just take them to Disney World? I'm like, because I don't fucking live near Disney World. But that's going to be my characters coming to life. It's going to be Medivh, and you're going to have the humans flying on griffins and Stormwind. And, unfortunately, it predates Orgrimmar, so we're not going to see Orgrimmar. It hasn't been built yet, but it'll still be really cool. My concern is that I love it, and all the non-Blizzard people hate it. Which means it doesn't make enough money and we don't get a sequel.
Exactly.
That's what I'm worried about.
Yeah, that is my main worry. Now, I will say, like, I have tried to get my girlfriend to play WoW, and my girlfriend is not of the geeky persuasion. Like, she's very supportive of all the podcast things. I get talking about, oh my God, we got so-and-so coming on the show, or we're doing this, or we're doing that. And she sits there and smiles and nods and says, good for you. You're obviously happy. But, she doesn't understand why anybody would even want to listen to us talk about things. And, and she's got a point. It is kind of a strange concept if you're on the outside looking in, especially.
Hey, it makes more sense than sitting there watching somebody play video games.
Well, I don't think she understands that either.
No, probably not.
But when we saw the trailer for the Warcraft movie, she turned to her daughter, and like I said, they were sitting behind me, and I heard her say, "That looks really good. We're going to have to go see that." And this is a person who doesn't understand why I would be interested in World of Warcraft. So I think it does have some of that more universal appeal. At least I'm hoping that was an example of what we're going to get.
Well, they're also
from other people.
They're also going to be less critical because we're going to look at different things and go, no, that's wrong. No, you screwed that
Yeah.
up. Like I'm sure you've seen the parody movie poster where it says Warcraft movie, like the armor they show you, and then Warcraft movie, the real armor, and it's like 10 times the size because look at the armor that human's wearing. There's no armor in Warcraft that's that small. It just does
Right.
like there's no armor that's realistically proportioned. It just doesn't exist
Yeah.
in Warcraft. Um,
He doesn't
but
have shoulder pads that are the same size as him, and
Right, exactly. But I mean, but then again, that's what, and I'm glad they're going that route where it it still has a almost a cartoony. It's got the Blizzard feel in that it's not dark and gritty. It still looks fantasy, but it
Mhm.
looks real in the
Yeah.
sense that in my mind, if I were to encounter an orc in real life, that is very similar to what it would look like. Do you know what I
Yes.
mean? And they nailed that.
Yeah.
As long as none of them break out into an MC Hammer dance, we're okay.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of the stuff that I think they're making the right decisions. They're not copying the sillier stuff that's in the games,
Right. The
you know,
fan
which is
service.
fun for us,
Right.
you know.
But we get it.
But
We understand that's how Blizzard is.
right,
You know,
exactly.
like and that's Blizzard. That's just Blizzard being Blizzard. Like I don't know if you ever played the Warcraft RTS games, but
A long time ago, yes.
you could click on the different characters, and if you kept clicking on them, they'd keep talking to you. And
Yes.
like the human footman, you'd click on him, and he'd be like what do you want? And you keep going, and then he'd be like, join the army. They said, save the world. They said. I'd rather be sailing, and like
Yeah.
all these different little things, and then like the peon, you would click on him, he'd be like grub grub, like do his thing, and then like the last time you click on him, he goes, "Hey, me not that kind of orc." So they've always been that kind of
Yeah.
almost satire like humor, and like, look, we don't take ourselves too seriously, so don't take us seriously, because if you do, you're going to be disappointed.
Well, I think, like, to me, the best set of quests, the most fun set of quests in WoW is the 3-part quest that you do for the day Deathwing came, when the
Yes.
3 different characters are telling their perspective of it, and they just get wilder and wilder fish stories, and you know that's just so much fun. But obviously, that's not going to translate into the movie. The
Right.
movie has to take the more serious tone, but they're able to do it and still capture a little bit of that, you know, that Blizzard magic, that thing that makes it Blizzard. So, yeah, I'm excited. I can't wait.
Right. Did you ever get a chance to dabble in SWOTOR?
I did. When it first came out, I played it for 6 to 9 months, I guess, probably.
Yeah. Basically WoW with lightsabers.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it definitely. I have played other MMOs that have different things in them that I really think are really good, but then nothing seems to capture my imagination the way WoW does.
Right.
You know, I love the Star Wars world. I love the mythos. I love the Jedi and this, you know, and it's so much fun to be a part of that, but then it just execution wise lacked something. You know,
Right.
the story was good in parts, and then in other parts not so much. And you know, it's I was listening to Geek History Lesson, and they were talking about, they did an episode on Jedi, the history of the Jedi, and they talked a little bit about that game and how it was supposed to just be the Knights of the Old Republic Part 3, I guess. And
Right.
so the Jedi story was really fleshed out, but then they were bought out and said, well, you know, Blizzard's doing so well with this game, let's make this multiplayer, massive multiplayer online. And so all the other stories had to be cobbled together real fast and kind of rushed, and I think that hurt them a lot. So I mean, the game had its good points and its bad points, and it's the same thing with Guild Wars 2. Guild Wars 2 is another one that I kind of go back and forth with, and they have this fantastic mechanism in the game where if you go to a land that is way below your level, you scale down. And the nice part about that is if somebody's new playing the game and you want to play with them, you don't have to create a new character. Because to me, that always got tiresome. Like my kids would play WoW, I'd create a character, they'd create a character, we'd get together, we'd start playing, you know, we'd level up to like 9 or 10, we'd stop for the night, the next night I'd come home from work, we'd sit down to go play, and I'm at level 9 and they're at level 15 because they've been playing all day. And it's like, well, crap, now what do? I can't, I'm going to
Right.
get killed where you are. You're going to take all the experience away from me,
Right.
but Guild Wars has that scaling ability. So, all these games out there have these great little pieces to them, but as far as the whole picture goes, it's still wow to me.
It's funny that you say that because one thing I was going to mention, and Guild Wars is a good example of it, SWTOR is a good example of it, and then back to WoW. One thing I've noticed what Blizzard does, and this is becoming very Blizzard centric, but that's okay, is that they'll look at their competition and they'll go, okay, what are they doing right, and what are they screwing up? Okay, they're doing this right. Let's do that in our game, and add it to all the other stuff we do right. Like, for example, when SWTOR came out and SWTOR had area loot,
Yes.
Blizzard implemented it within 6 months.
Yeah.
Guild Wars 2, as you mentioned, has the area scaling that's coming in Legion.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, that's coming in. Now, it's for right now, it's only going to be for Legion zones. But if you get to level 110 and then a month later one of your kids starts up and they're 100, you can go back to where they are and you will scale. You will scale back. But yeah, so they're adding that. All these really cool features, and not only maybe features that are in other games, but features that were added by modders, people who make add-ons.
Yes.
They'll go, oh, well, we really like that, so we're just going to implement it into the UI. That way someone doesn't have to download an add-on to get it to work.
Right.
And Blizzard is so in tune with their user base in that way that it works out very, very well.
Yeah.
We had one question come in from our form submission. If you would like to submit a question for any of our upcoming guests, you can go to inkedgeekstudios.com/mindofageek, and there will be a link on that page there to submit a question. This question for you today comes from the real Han Solo. And he says, which is your favorite legacy Star Wars character and which is your favorite new character?
All right. Well, legacy character has always been Han Solo, I think. He just was so much more appealing than Luke Skywalker was. He was so much cooler, I think. But the older I get, the more I appreciate Darth Vader as a character. I saw a news story over the weekend that James Earl Jones is coming back for Rogue One to voice Darth Vader.
Nice.
And I was like, it's like, oh my God, we're getting Darth Vader back in another movie.
Yeah.
And I was more excited about that than anything. It's like, oh, this is cool, because Darth Vader is just, and I think George Lucas gets a lot of shit for a lot of things and for a lot of good reasons.
Yes, he does.
But his protectiveness over Darth Vader, I think, is part of the reason that character remains so cool. He was very careful about what Darth Vader was involved in, and it's kept that air of mystique around him.
Right.
And I think that's really, really an important thing. So I would say, probably now my feelings are more towards Darth Vader, but definitely when I was younger, Han Solo was absolutely the coolest.
Okay.
As far as the new characters, man, there were a lot of great new characters. I think Maz was fantastic. Poe. I'd have to go with Rey though. Rey is completely kick-ass. She has that innocence about her, but knows enough of who she is and what she wants, I think, to really become she has a lot of growth potential.
Right.
There's a lot of story left for her, but she was able to handle herself really well in the movie. So, I mean, I think if I had to pick my favorite character, I'd have to go with her from the new one. I mean, Kylo Ren was great. Have you seen the stuff that's going around, the Kylo Ren and the undercover boss?
Yes, I have. It's great. Hi, how are you? Do you like working here? Do you like Kylo Ren? Yeah. Well, I love it because he's just playing up this emo Kylo Ren. It's perfect. And Adam Driver's awesome. I don't know. Yeah, I'll answer the question real quick. Too,
Hmm?
because I want to talk about Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren's my favorite new character. I loved him. I loved his voice under the mask. I loved the way he personified himself in the mask. I loved that final scene with him and Han Solo. That was,
Hmm?
oh my god! It was, and I like. I don't want to spoil too much. I mean, I guess it's been over. It's officially over a month now. Um,
Yeah.
but that final scene, and I won't say the climax of it, but where like it started off and that room was really bright, and as it gets closer and closer to the climax, the sun gets eclipsed,
Yeah.
and they're because obviously they're sucking the sun out of the solar system,
Hmm.
but and then just it goes completely dark and like I loved it, but yeah, no, I'm getting hyped. I loved Kylo Ren. I got like my Kylo Ren Funko Pop. I've got my Kylo Ren like 12-inch figure back there. Yeah, no, he's so bad. And I love his lightsaber. It's a broadsword lightsaber. How can you not like it? People who
Yeah.
don't like it
And
are dumb.
and I love that you picked up that symbolism with the light and the dark. I didn't notice that the first time I saw the movie, but the second time I went back, it like stood out so vividly of, oh, look what they're doing with
Do
that.
you
And it was such a masterful thing.
do you want me to blow your mind for a second?
Sure.
Do you plan on seeing it a third time?
Probably. I don't know if
Okay.
I'll get to it in the theater or not, but
Then
I'll definitely see it again.
keep this in your back. Keep this in the back of your mind.
Mhm.
And this might be considered a spoiler, so earmuffs for 30 seconds. Um, watch closely that scene. Remember how Han said he'd help him?
Mhm.
Watch really closely. I'm
Yeah.
95% certain that Han turns the lightsaber on.
I think so too.
Oh,
I
okay.
noticed that the second time I
Oh,
saw it, and
okay.
then
All right.
I saw somebody post about that today on Facebook, and I got to thinking about that. It's like, yeah, you know what? I think they're right. I would definitely go back and have to watch that scene again, but I think they're probably onto something there.
Right, right. Oh, here's Skype jerking with the audio again.
Oh, sorry.
No. It's probably more Skype than you. It was like
Yeah.
when me and Amy did our episode, like we had to go to Hangouts because Skype was just murderous. But I always forget about Hangouts because every other show I do has more than two people, and Hangouts is impossible with more than two people because you can't pick,
Right.
like you can't view multiple cameras. Anyway, as far as legacy, I'm gonna split that question up, and I'll give you a chance to as well afterwards since you only did two. Because when I'm gonna pick a legacy, I'm gonna pick a prequel and I'm gonna pick an original trilogy.
Okay.
Original trilogy, I would agree with you, Darth Vader. By far, hands down. I mean, Vader was phenomenal. I always found Palpatine to be annoying. Like I get his role and he's cool and he has these few scenes where he's badass, but he's like nagging more than anything.
Mhm.
When it comes to prequels, uh, I would love to say Maul, but he was there too briefly.
Yeah.
I would say
It was a
Dooku.
wasted.
I would say Count Dooku. Um, Count Dooku, and you notice a pattern there. I'm a dark side guy. I mean,
Mhm.
you see the tattoo on my neck. It's the
Yep.
Imperial Army. I'm always I'm under the belief that the Sith are the good guys.
Yeah.
That is truly my belief. I'm going to while I'm talking, I'm going to end the call and call you back really quick so it seems seamless. But I'm going to try and
Okay.
reestablish the connection. But yeah, so I am under the I've always been under the impression that the Sith were the good guys, and the reason that I felt that way was because if you look at the Jedi, they have a strict rule code. They want to control you. They want to oppress you. You must obey their rules. You have to be trained by a certain age or you don't qualify. The Sith simply want to live free from oppression. They want to live free from the Jedi iron control. The Sith are capitalism and the Jedi are communism. The Sith
Yeah.
are the good guys.
I think I'd have to go back and watch it again with that theory in mind, but you may not be far off. So,
And red lightsabers are so much better than anything.
oh, definitely, definitely. I think I am not a big prequel guy. The only one of the original trilogy I saw in the theaters was Return of the Jedi, but I definitely relate more to that. The first movie that I was still a little too young for the theater, but I definitely fall more into the original trilogy as opposed to the prequel.
Right.
But I will say that as a character, what I've learned about Mace Windu makes him a really cool character in my mind. The fact that he was the
the only one that mastered all 7 schools of fighting in the Jedi Order. The fact that Samuel L. Jackson plays him phenomenally.
Oh, he was great.
He's so much fun anyway. Just about he's one of those actors that you just can't kind of take your eyes off of because you just never know what's going to happen. And the fact that he had so much sway that he could say, "I want a purple lightsaber," and they just gave it to him. So I really have an appreciation for that too. But so if I was going to say a prequel character, and it's not completely on the movies, but what I've learned outside the movies too, it would definitely be Mace Windu.
Right. Yeah. No, he was good, and it's Sam Jackson. You can't go wrong.
Right. Exactly.
You can't go wrong. Of course, now that you're done with who you're naming as your character, your voice is coming back a little bit.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's all good. It's all good. Well, hey, Shawn, I want to thank you a bunch for coming on the show. We had a blast chatting with you, blast getting to know your geeky side a little bit more, and I look forward to doing Streaming Geeks with you. Why don't you go over a little bit where you and some of the shows can be found for our listeners?
Sure. Well, plug the two big ones right now. Trivia Geeks. You can find us on Twitter at Trivia Geeks Show. We record live most Tuesday nights at 9:15. We do move the show around a little bit to accommodate guests. Like we just had, like I said, Stephen and Nicole on. Tuesday nights is bad for them, so we recorded on a Sunday afternoon. But that's part of building a brand. You've got somebody like that who's that good, you want on your show. You're willing to move something around for them. So at Trivia Geek Show on Twitter, Facebook.com/Trivia Geek Show. We're in the process of launching a new website, so hopefully pretty soon we'll have that. The other thing to follow is Streaming Geeks. Get us on Twitter at Streaming Geeks or on Facebook at facebook.com/Streaming Geeks. Just getting ready to record that pilot in a couple of days. We'll be back together again doing that. So the show doesn't have a whole lot there yet, but follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. You'll be the first ones to know when things get launched towards the end of February, and we get that other new show going for Wolfking and for Inked Geek.
Definitely. I'm gonna reiterate a little bit of that really quick, just because your audio was kind of breaking up. So it's facebook.com/Trivia Geeks Show. Don't miss the double S. It's Geeks plural and then show. And the same for the Twitter at Trivia Geeks Show on Twitter, and then facebook.com/Streaming Geeks for the show that we will be doing together jointly.
Exactly.
As for this show here, you can follow us on Twitter, IG_Mind of a Geek. You can find the schedule for upcoming guests as well as show notes for all of our episodes at inkedgeekstudios.com/mindofageek. As I mentioned earlier, if you have a question or a comment for an upcoming guest, you can go to inkedgeekstudios.com/mindofageek, and on that site, there is a link to submit a question or a comment. If you yourself are a content creator, if you are a live streamer, podcaster, an author, an artist, a YouTuber, musician, anything. If you create something that you think is cool and you want me and the world to know about it, on that website, there is also a link for you to do a small little, I want to say like, it's really short. It's a submit form that will go directly to the show's email, and I can get you on the calendar. We are currently booked out till the second month of May, the second week of May. And I usually get 1 or 2 emails every few days. So if you want to do that, be sure to get your name in there, because we're booking kind of fast, which is great for the show. And I'm really excited. I've had a bunch of people contact me and go, "Hey, apparently you got something on your hands here." I'm like, "Apparently." Anyway, as always, if you enjoy the content we provide for you here at Inked Geek Studios, you can go to patreon.com/IG Studios and give back a little bit of that value that you find that we provide for you. I want to give a big thank you to Mr. Dustin Bayette for the audio that he provides for our show. This show is recorded live, typically at 8:30 on Monday nights Eastern Time. I say typically, because occasionally, just like with Trivia Geeks, if we get somebody who's not available on Mondays at 8:30, we do our best to make ourselves available for them. Our next show is actually an example of that. It's going to be next Sunday at 8:30 p.m. right here at twitch.tv/Inked Geek Studios, and our guest next week is going to be Jay Hammond C of but Beyond the Playlist and Grumpy Cast. So we're pretty excited about that. So I think that's going to do it. Shawn, again, thank you very much, sir. I enjoyed your company, and we had a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Internet problems aside.
Exactly. Well, unfortunately, that's just the way things go anymore. But yeah, you've got a really enjoyable format here. It's a nice way for people to hear about things going on, and it's a lot of fun. So thank you for having me.
Well, cool. I appreciate that. And to everybody else that joined us live and listened to this after the fact, thank you very much. Have a good night, and we will see you next week. Cool. Let's
Alrighty.
do that one. Yeah. I think.